Hey y'all, welcome back to the Submerge podcast with Camila and Benji. This is episode 4, and if you have not checked out episode 1, 2, and 3, they are up and running on Spotify at Submerge Podcast, on YouTube at Submerge Podcast TV, and if you want updates, please be sure to check us out on Instagram at Submerge Podcast, run by the one and only me.
Wonderful. This is the 4th episode, as you mentioned, Camila, and even after 4 episodes, I'm still your father. You're my teenage daughter. We're having raw, refreshing, real, sometimes explicit conversations about all sorts of themes and nonsense. So if you love life, movies, culture, swimming, food, drinks, you've come to the right place. And we're going to promise to keep you entertained.
Yes, and please remember to give us a like, leave a comment, let us know what you think about this. Give us some ideas, something you want to hear us talk about. And be sure to share this with your friends and family. We hope you enjoy.
Beautiful. So today we're mostly going to be talking about movies. So a theme that I think a lot of people enjoy, adore, yes. Right? And we've got a special shout out actually that is a hark back to episode 1. But mostly what we're going to be concentrating on is the new Batman that we all saw as a family.
Yes.
Right? And also even though rated R, even though sometimes quite explicit and violent, you have watched 3 Tarantino movies with me.
I have.
You have. And that's them. Pulp Fiction, Inglourious Bastards, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And so we're gonna talk about that, right? And obviously, you know, the prefacing this with folks that we're not encouraging you to watch these movies with your kids if you don't feel comfortable. That's absolutely fine. The Batman is a PG-13 movie.
Batman, very PG-13.
Yeah, so no issues there. But before, I've got a little digression. You know, on this show, we like to digress. I saw on my YouTube pop up Ed Sheeran featuring J Balvin, Sigue. Now, I want this redhead away from anything. You know what? I want to. He writes
ginger pubes. Go back to Ireland.
He apparently has a Venus in Pisces, meaning he tends to be in touch with his very romantic side, and that's why he writes beautiful. But that's the only place I want to listen to this guy. When I'm cutting a cake or I'm getting like a little profiterole at a wedding, and it's like, oh, that's nice. Look, they're dancing to how beautiful she is. Fantastic. That's the only time. When he starts singing in Spanish and calls himself Pelirrojo, but with the Brit accent, I don't want him. I want him out. Please, let's do not watch this video.
My God.
I'll give him props. I'll give him props that he tried. He tried to sing in Spanish, but I'm like, leave it to J Balvin. Now listen, the song could have been. It's not a bad beat. It's reggaeton style. It's upbeat. I'm sure we're gonna hear it on the dance floor at some point. But like
I'm walking off the dance floor.
It's like, why? Just, you know, like, stay in your lane, man. Stay in your avenue. Don't get off the Latino exit.
I hope J Balvin doesn't become white girl music now.
No, but that's the problem. He's veering into that very dangerous territory. And you know.
White people are going to be like, wow, this is so culturally diverse.
No, it's not. Stay away.
Oh, no.
Okay, moving on. So, a shout out to episode 1, and we saw, or you shared with me, what did we see through, I guess, Instagram?
Yeah, Where the Crawdads Sing. They are making a movie. It's coming out, I think, July 15th in theaters. So I think it's kind of legit. And
it looks like the actress du jour, la coqueluche of the new Hollywood, I'm calling her that already, Daisy Edgar Jones.
Yes.
And if you don't know Daisy Edgar Jones, all you have to do is go to Hulu and watch
Fresh.
It's
a new thriller.
It's a new thriller with Sebastian Stan, a.k.a. the Winter Soldier.
A.k.a. Love of my
little
life.
Snack cake,
A.k.a.
right? Yeah.
Bae.
A.k.a. like salty pretzel, or what are we talking about?
What?
Chocolate? I don't know. What are
A.k.a. Bae. He's Bae.
Okay.
He's
okay,
Bae.
we'll come back. So, very...
that was disturbing.
Yeah. Disturbing movie, but
very good.
Very good thriller.
I
not
think
for everybody.
It was really comedic for a thriller, you know, like you weren't like shitting your pants the whole movie. It was kind of just like disturbed, but it was funny how disturbing it was.
Yes, exactly.
So I think they did a good job.
But the big question for me is, we really enjoyed the book.
Yeah.
Are movies ever as good as the book?
It depends. Like,
depends on what.
Like, okay, there's a very big debate like between the Harry Potter movies as to whether the movies are better than the book.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think they did a really good job.
Right.
In the movies.
Right.
And I'm not a big reader. Mm-hmm. So I would say, well, the movies I think did a better job than the books did, because I'm just not a very big reader in that sense. But some people would completely disagree. And there is elements in the books that always are missing in the movies. Yes. So it's always just like a little bit disappointing. So I'm worried only because I don't want them to like screw this up, only because I love the book so much. And I was so excited when I saw the trailer. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope this is good. Yeah. I hope they don't mess this up, you know, because it could be a beautiful movie if they put
when I saw the trailer, I get worried because of exactly that question I just posed. You know, you look at Lord of the Rings or you look at The Hobbit, they're books that transport you when you don't see the movies in your head already. And I think the human mind has the capacity to imagine a lot more than even what's on film. But I will give it to you on Harry Potter. They picked the right directors, I think, for the different books, and as they went through the different ages. Yes. So to me, there is an argument there, but at the same time,
the books were very good though. Like, obviously movies are a lot easier to watch than have to reread the whole series again, but it's very hard conflict to because just some people are not very big readers and some people are not really into movies. So it really just depends on the type of person that you are. But I think everybody can agree that if they frick up the movie and the book is already better. Like, you know, like you can honestly tell like by like the first 10 minutes of the movie, like you look at the movie, you're like, oh my God, they've just ruined this for me. You know, that's what I'm really worried about, you know. It's just so disappointing.
We'll see. So, you know, I think obviously we get tickled to death because the book was good and
very good.
We're like, we hope they do a good job. And as I said, it looked pretty slick. Mm-hmm. She was very surprising to me and fresh, despite the material being very...
I thought that movie was going to be horrible, but honestly, like...
No, and I watched it a second time with you. Obviously, when I got past the shock value, and then I enjoyed it for what it was. And this is what people, you know, without spoiling too much, when you're into thrillers and horror, it's a mixture, right? When you're in that zone, sometimes you have... It was done by a woman, by the way. So that's what's impressive. Not saying because she's a woman, because it's at that point of view, there was a very visceral, vulgar male, you know, kind of character, right? Yeah. So the thing is, I think when it comes down to it, if you're able to kind of forget about the bad parts and say, oh well, it's just a horror movie. No, the premise of it was the horrors of dating, right?
And like the new generation of dating.
Correct. And so that's the theme with me. If you go back and watch a lot of horror movies, they were about a certain theme, but then unfortunately people get swept into the violence. And I think that's going to be a good segue to Tarantino. But first, let's get to Batman. So we saw as a family the PG-13, the Batman movie with still a snack cake or a salty Snickers bar.
He's still Bay.
He's still Bay. Okay, and he beefed up for this movie.
And he beefed up. Bay was looking good with them back shots. I was like,
he's a British guy. I'll accept. He's a British guy. I'll accept. So the questions after watching this, obviously you can't help to compare
Christian
to
Bale.
the previous era. Even though after the Chris Nolan era, there were some DC Comics movies, and we'll talk about those, but with Ben Affleck and the Justice League and stuff. But does our ex-Twilight vampire who likes to just look at you and mind fuck you, does he fit? Does he fit your generation? Does he fit the 2022 era?
I feel like he fit that emo vibe.
You think so?
I feel like it was really...
You don't think it was a little too much?
It was really... Okay, well, it was really heavy on the emo. I feel like, for me, to compare it to the Christian Bale Batman movies, I feel like the Christian Bale Batman movies were more like action, and I feel like this one was just had a darker emotional element to it.
Yeah.
Where it was more just like...
Moody.
You didn't have to like be told like how he was feeling and what was going on. You could just feel it, and you could see it like through the filters that they used for the movie, the outfits, like him with his black mascara.
It was very,
on his eyes.
obviously we don't want to give away, but it was very dark. A lot of close-ups, a lot of over-the-shoulder camera shots, right? As I said, I thought there was some set pieces, that were fantastic.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it the other day, and I said, in my head, the way I see this Batman, it was like the conclusion of a 6-part series, but super well done with a ton of money. Because when you think about it, he arrives in that first scene on the crime scene. It's almost like he's in the second year, they tell you, right, of being the Batman. He's obviously figuring things out, his gadgets. He's not perfect.
Right.
But when he comes in, he's trying to embrace the emo-ness or whatever you want to call it of Batman and of the character. And there's not much explanation there. So I just feel like we were a bit missing. For me, I don't mind if you're emo. I don't mind the charcoal under the eyes or whatever the fuck he was doing.
It was the black mascara. Yeah.
The black mascara, the dark hair, whatever it is. For me, I just needed a little more
context
to grip into the character himself.
Right.
Because then I can accept the mood that you chose. Because as I said, I thought there were some good pieces, but then it just got a little too long and a little too flat.
I felt the relationship between... What's the name of his butler again?
Alfred,
yeah. I thought that their relationship, I think, could have been a lot more special if they tried. It was lacking for me.
The problem is I got to bring up the Nolan era because Michael Caine's relationship with Christian Bale, he was there to protect him as a father. Now listen, in that hospital scene, they do a good job, right? They do a good job.
Yes,
they're good actors. Yes. They're both good actors. But again, malheureusement, unfortunately, you didn't have the explanation before of how that bond was created.
Right.
They should have been.
So you don't care for it really as much as you do with the Christian Bale movies.
And that guy has got a range of emotions like there's no tomorrow. Not only he's the monkey in Planet Apes, he's also the guy in Wakanda. Don't you remember? He was the South African guy. He's like, I made it rain.
Oh my God!
Remember?
Yeah.
That was my favorite scene. Like in Black Panther, they bust up the whole casino, and then there's like dollars flying everywhere. He's like, "Look, I made it rain." You don't remember?
Yeah.
Like as if he's in a strip club.
Yes.
Look, I made it rain. Third time. Comedy of 3. No more. No. Okay, that's it. But I thought there was missing some stuff there. Listen. You say he fits the generation, so I can kind of get that. We look at the Nolan era being the late 2000s into 2010s, the Michael Keaton era of the late 80s to 90s, and then what I'm calling the fucking forgettable mid-90s substitute era between...
I haven't watched those.
Val Kilmer, George Clooney, and Ben Affleck. But you and I were talking about this. You get the Batman of the times. You get the Batman of... the current mood, whether it's economic, whether it's music.
Yes. I feel like this Batman definitely fit what the world is going through right now, or what the world has like gone through in the past several years. I feel like that was a really good reflection.
Yeah, we were back to the dirtiness of Gotham of Michael Keaton, but that had more of a cartoonish feel.
Yeah.
While this is like, holy shit, I think I'm in Pittsburgh in the 1980s and I'm about to be stabbed, or possibly Detroit, or possibly London. Remember? At one point, there's a Times Square that's a mix of Times Square and Piccadilly Circus.
It's weird.
It looked a bit like Blade Runner. You're like, where the hell am I?
I will say this movie was more comically accurate. Marcos told me that it was more...
That's a good point.
It was more accurate like to the comics. So I think people who... I haven't looked at the Batman comics, but people who grew up reading the Batman comics, I think they appreciated this movie a little more because it was a bit more accurate. I feel like with the Catwoman and everything. It was just, that was disappointing. The Catwoman, you know, like, I don't know. I just feel like it wasn't, that's not really her character. Like, isn't she like I thought she was bad. Like she was a villain at first. Because didn't she seduce men and like steal from them? Wasn't that her job?
I don't know enough about Catwoman.
Okay, well,
because
from the videos I've seen...
in the Nolan era, she was a thief. And she also weaseled away into society, but it's mostly to either get money, steal stuff.
Yes. Well, in the comics, I think she seduced men.
I forgot Michelle Pfeiffer what she was. She was like good, but then she became bad. But she's in these like super sexual outfits trying to like seduce men. That's like Catwoman. And I feel like that was just absolutely lacking. And of course she's drinking milk. I'm like, did we have to have her make it?
So the Vogue pictures of when she was drinking milk, I was like, girl, you ain't even a Catwoman.
Well, this is the issue is that maybe it's more faithful to the comics, so fantastic for those who read them. And maybe there was some satisfaction there, but at the same time, then it's too literal. It's like, here we go, she drinks milk. It's dark. He's gonna have to be dark. So I feel
and then she has like a bunch of stray cats in her bar. I'm like, okay, we get it. She's Catwoman. Yeah. We got it. Yeah. We got the memo, babes. Like,
I have a hard time because, as you know, I thought the Riddler was pretty decent, but as the movie went along, I kind of got bored of him.
Yeah, I was like,
it got
like okay, he kills people and then he leaves the room. Like, they dragged it out.
Yeah, and the riddles. He's like, if I am left and you turn right, where are you? Like in the center? I go, you're like, bravo, you got me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a bit. And by the way, we didn't talk too much about the other guys in the substitute era. We won't, but digression, do not watch Deep Water with Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas. And even though she's our Cuban representative right now, and she was great in a very short moment in James Bond, this was just a rotten egg.
I haven't watched it.
Don't watch it. So it was probably presented as an erotic thriller. And guess what? The director is Adrian Lyne. And if you know your history, Adrian Lyne is responsible for 9.5 Weeks. Just a hot movie with Kim Basinger from the 1980s. Just hot, you know, with Mickey Rourke when he looked like a human. And what you'll understand one day when you Google him. Deepwater just sucked. It was so bad. They didn't explain why he was that way. The eroticism was... It just wasn't there. Don't watch it. Okay, so that was our digression. So we'll move on from the Batman. I mean, but watch or no watch?
I mean, like...
Form your own opinion, maybe?
I'm not a huge fan of those superhero stuff, but like, I thought it was a good getaway. Like, if you want to go out for the night, have like a little date, you don't know where to go watch Batman. You know, it's a 3-hour movie. Go get your cuddle in.
Well, yeah.
That's like the movie, like if you're a teenager, that's the movie you go make out with.
Correct.
Like in the middle, like you watch the beginning, make out for the 2 hours, come back to the end and watch the end. Like that's that movie.
This is where you figure out in the doc, is this a Twizzler or is this something else? Let's figure this out. So we'll move on to the third theme and maybe the larger theme to end the podcast is Tarantino. Now, obviously, listen, I grew up and my parents didn't shelter me from movies. Maybe it was a little too much when they were, my dad, I was 13. I think he sat me down. He's like, hey, look, there's A Clockwork Orange by Stanley Kubrick. Let's watch it. I'm like, rape and conditioning of the human mind. Awesome. Let's watch that on a Friday night. Not going to have trauma.
Okay.
So, but it was fine because, listen, I look back at now, fine, I digested it, I got over it. And when I rewatched it, I laughed, obviously, because there's some really funny moments, but it's super fucking dark.
Okay.
So Tarantino, I put him in the same kind of category, but I wanted you to watch him because they're unique, right?
I liked it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what like is. I mean, for me, when you watch these movies, it's either a visceral reaction that people have, either good or bad. He's been applauded at Cannes. He's been whistled. He's been bashed. But the price or the definition of your art and the patience with it if it's your vision, it's your vision. And Tarantino has a clear vision, even though obviously he's biting from kung fu movies, from westerns. But you cannot say that it's not a Tarantino movie, right?
Yes.
You watch the 3 movies, you
and
know it's him.
Yeah, it's like a vibe. It's kind of like the setup of the movies too. Like he always has the story, and then there's certain chunks missing, and then you always go. It's like
the chapters.
Like chapters, and then like you kind of like go back and forth between chapters and figure out the story kind of on your own. Like
Correct.
like it's not like that's what I like. I think about those movies. It makes it different than other movies.
Yeah. So. And we'll talk about 3 of them and maybe pause a little more on the second one, which I think is your favorite out of the 3. That's why I wanted to do that. And I've got some little tidbits for you and for the audience. So let's talk and going back to those different eras of the Batman, here we are. Let's talk about Pulp Fiction. His second movie, the first one was Reservoir Dogs. We didn't watch that, but that's what made him a cult classic. And people started talking about it at the Cannes Film Festival. They started talking about him in the US. But with Pulp Fiction is when he made a name for himself in 1994. Anchored in Los Angeles, gangster type vibe, but with some quirkiness and just some weird shit happening. What did you think of Pulp Fiction?
I just thought of it as a chaotic mess, but like it was a good mess.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, what does this storyline have like anything to do with life? But like, I don't know. I just liked it. It's kind of weird, and it was like kind of dark, like at the end, like, and it was kind of like if like, well, there's a raping scene in Pulp Fiction, and I was like, oh, this is not what I thought this was gonna happen.
You didn't see it going down, right?
Right. Yeah. But it was surprising, like, to who it was happening with. What is this? Like the racial discrimination kind of behind it. And I was just like, oh, this is different.
Yeah. So this brings up a very good point, is that when you provoke, are you provoking for the sake of provoking? Or does it fit within the context of the movie? When you watch the overall arc of the movie, right, and all the different episodes, does that scene then fit in?
Yeah.
It does, right?
Right, yeah.
But at the same time, yes, you can be profoundly shocked by it. Either you're looking at the racial element, or you're
both.
looking at the sexual.
Right.
Right? And it's also not what you expect because it's men.
Right.
Right.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
It kind of like, it was like, that scene to me was kind of like, well, I don't really know what was going on in that generation with like gay rights and everything, and people like being comfortable with coming out and stuff. But like there was a clear, like, those guys, like they were just like so afraid to come out and be themselves. Like this is kind of like a huge reflection of what was going on at the time. I feel like, I'm not sure. I don't know when it came out, but
1994.
Okay, well, I don't know.
I was 18 when this movie came out, and I went to see it in the movie theater in Boston. It was probably around October, November, because maybe before Oscar season. And I think everybody in the movie theater was like, what the fuck are we watching, and where's this going? But when it was done, everybody and their mother was like, I gotta buy the soundtrack.
Oh yeah, that was a very good soundtrack.
You know how many parties I went to, and the son of a preacher man was playing, and everybody started doing the John Travolta dance.
Yeah.
So, but again, what you're finding in his movies, you have these set pieces, what I call these sublime kind of chapters or set pieces that he just loves to bring you down and digress, right? I mean, he has a clear path, right?
Yeah.
But you get off the exit.
Yeah,
I was talking with a friend today about that. It's like you get off he's going to bring you back. So Pulp Fiction, you enjoyed it, but obviously, maybe that too cool for school attitude with it. You have to buy into it, right? The Samuel Jackson with John Travolta relationship. But you got introduced to the dialogue of what he does, right? He loves to have set pieces where people are talking, and then he just takes you somewhere completely, either with tension or with humor or with violence. He provokes. So then that brings us then to the second movie, which we'll take a maybe a little longer pause on, is Inglourious Basterds from 2009. My favorite.
Hard Eyes.
So we've watched this. I've watched this 4 or 5 times. You've watched it maybe twice. So what do you love about Inglourious Basterds?
I don't know, honestly. Like that Austrian guy is my favorite character in the entire movie.
Christopher Waltz is the actor.
Yes. Lovely job, lovely job. Like I just so enjoy watching him. I think that
What would you describe? You didn't describe the movie. What is it about?
Well, it's about World War II.
Yeah.
Right? And, well, you kind of jump between American...
Don't worry about that. But World War II. And
World War II.
Who
and
are these bastards?
Well, these bastards are this American group, and they're trying to take down Nazis. Well, what's his name? Brad Pitt would say.
Mm-hmm.
And
Aldo the Apache.
Yes, Aldo the Apache, and you kind of just follow them, and it's like a clash.
I've been chewed out before.
A clash between different people trying to, and there's the Jewish girl. She has her own kind of storyline, and then the bastards have their own storyline, and it's kind of just like they're very separate, but they come together at the end. Again, Tarantino, very separate ideas, and you're just like, how's this shit gonna mix?
So you notice you're having a hard time describing the movie because it for me, as I said, it is different chapters in World War II.
You got to know your history, kind of.
Where we have the bastards are there, kind of the glue to it all. This group seeking revenge, and what's funny, what I found out about this movie is that actually he wrote the script in 1998. So almost 10 years to 11 years before. The problem is there was a lot of delays. There was possibly the script got leaked online. He probably had to do some rewrites. And so let's talk about some of the characters, by the way, that you're going to remember and tidbits. So first, the French girl, Mélanie Laurent. Mm-hmm. Okay. He apparently met with her in a cafe in France, and she probably got greeted by people because he turned to her and apparently said to her, he's like, I like to discover someone. He goes, you're too famous. I don't want to use you. And that's a Tarantino trait. He loves to bring either old school actors that you've forgotten about, like John Travolta in the 90s. Nobody gives a fuck about John Travolta, the 90s, right? They're like, we're done dancing, but then he made him dance and he made him cool again. Right? And then we couldn't get rid of him. You don't remember. In the 90s, there was a Travolta movie every week. I'm like, please. And then they force him to dance even when he was an angel. Right. I think there was a movie called Michael. So Mélanie Laurent, that was one. The second, the guy who plays Winston Churchill when the British soldier is being briefed and having his scotch and whiskey.
Oh, yes.
The actor who plays Churchill is actually a guy that was in The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock in 1963, an Australian actor named Rod Taylor. He got a guy out of retirement just to sit on that piano
and say one sentence
and do a few sentences. And apparently this guy studied a ton of DVDs of Winston Churchill to get his inflection right. But you thought he was Winston Churchill. It was like perfect. And then the big reveal is that he almost didn't do the movie because he couldn't find Hans Landa. He couldn't find the right character played by Christopher Waltz, the German
my favorite character.
And
he's such a dick, but you just love him. And the way they switch between the languages when he talks, and
good point.
His super sarcastic, I'm about to shoot these Jewish people, but I'm gonna laugh about it and I'm gonna pretend like everything's okay. Just so good. So
you bring up a very good point. Is what I love about this movie, and I love seeing it. You get German. You get English, you get French, and you get a bit of Italian. Mm-hmm. And it's all weaved together in a very beautiful way. I don't know who helped him with the script, but maybe because he took his time.
Yeah.
And this Christopher Waltz, who, by the way, at one point they were considering Leonardo DiCaprio for the role. It would have been
absolutely not.
It wouldn't have worked. Even though apparently he speaks German, he wouldn't be able to speak as good French. That would have been a busted French. And his Italian would have sucked. Buongiorno. So, and then finally, to finish off Inglourious Bastards, in the scene where Hans Landa chokes the actress Diane Kruger, Bridget Van Hammersmack, as the Bear Jew calls her, with his Boston accent, to make it even more real, those were Tarantino's hands. They weren't Christopher Waltz's.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because he's like, she said, in order to make it real, they kind of said, well, I'm gonna kind of choke you a bit for real, like pretty hard, to make it as authentic as possible. Again, it's not I wouldn't say it's a perfect movie, but it's such an entertaining mess.
It's like that Sunday night, you want to have a family movie, you want to laugh, you want a little bit of history, you want to learn something. throw it on. It's a long movie.
Let's stop.
What?
It is historical.
A little bit.
In the background, but this is where the artist takes his liberty.
Well, yeah,
I don't think Hitler ended up.
No,
being
Hitler didn't end up
machine gunned in the face in a theater. I'm just saying. Let's not push it.
I didn't mean it like that.
I know what you meant.
But
I know.
Yeah, just like it's like a little.
I don't want people going there and be like, oh, first of all, they didn't listen to the beginning where we told them it's rated R, and then suddenly they sit down for popcorn and they figure out they're like, what?
It makes like the depression of what actually happened. I feel like this movie was kind of like Tarantino's like revenge to what actually happened, and like that depression, he brought like a lightness to it, even though it was still like kind of dark. But yeah.
Well, and on that theme of changing history and seeing it and put it in a different light and still entertaining you, we moved to the last one, which is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Came out in 2020, I believe. And
Brad Pitt
wins the Oscar.
And Leonardo DiCaprio.
And so here you have an ex kind of Western / matinee star with his stunt double figuring out the late 60s in Hollywood. And this is the love letter apparently of Tarantino to that time. And you can see why being so anal, so detailed, the sets, the clothes, the dog food.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
There's so many little things there that are an homage, but it's also a history bending in order to fit the fairy tale, because you don't understand the title as the movies goes along, but as the movies progress, there's this beautiful little light who is Sharon Tate, and who was the real story murdered in her home while pregnant.
She's played by who? Margot
Robbie, the Australian actress. And there is there's some changes that happen to the story. And even though this third act has been qualified as ultra violent, there's people that left the theater, I was cracking up.
Oh, I was dying. I was like, what the balls is going on right now? I was like, oh, okay. Like,
he again took you down a road you didn't expect.
I thought they were screwed, and then the whole thing happened. I was like, this did not go how I thought it was going to go. Mm-hmm. Because you had told me a little bit of the history with Charles Manson, because that's kind of what the movie's about. And I was like, oh, so she's screwed. And then everything, you just go through everything, you're like, this is a little different.
It was, and but again, a very long movie, like most of his movies. You have to be very patient. It's even I think longer than the other two.
Yeah.
But it's a love letter to Hollywood, and I think
that was worth watching.
You see the performance of Leo. You see Brad is just too cool for school. He brings back certain other elements of that time. Mm-hmm. He plays with the theme of spaghetti westerns again, of a war movie. So there's almost like an Inglourious Bastards shout out in it. He tries to touch upon all the themes that he likes. There's even the Kung Fu reference with Bruce Lee.
Yes.
And the Green Hornet set. So it's Tarantino in being his indulgent self, like taking you down this road, like just what I say with him is like, sit back.
Enjoy the ride.
Sometimes you might be offended with his movies, the language, the racial elements, what he's trying to go for.
But
he
good.
Tries not to be hypersexual. There is some sexual elements, but they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's always him. So to me, if he is an artist and a genius, I have to appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean everybody has to agree with me or like his movies. Right. But he said this is his last movie, and then he's done. I certainly don't want that to happen.
Same.
Because if he can continue giving us a bit that fantasy, and he has a couple more left in him, then I'll certainly take it. So
I'll watch it.
We'll conclude on that note. There's more, we'll look forward to the When the Crawdads Sing, when that comes out.
We'll definitely do a review on that.
We encourage the families to go watch Batman together, PG-13. Tarantino, as I said, it's more if you are okay discussing certain subjects and have more open mind and you prepare your kids for it. And kids, my daughter is going to be 16. The boys have not watched it, so I would not freak out too much.
Marcos watched Pulp Fiction with us.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
No.
No, he walked away. I don't think he liked it.
Well, he does that with every movie we watch.
Yeah.
Okay, I think they're just attention. Away. They're just like, it's very long movies, so just...
Wonderful.
With caution.
Where can people check us out, Camila?
You can check us out on Instagram at Submerged Podcast, and you can listen to us on Spotify. Just look up Submerged Podcast, and then we are on YouTube. So make sure to subscribe, give us a comment, a like.
Submerged Podcast TV.
Yeah. Add the TV at the end, or else you're going to get some weird freak that tried to be a podcaster, but it didn't work.
It did not work out. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time, your attention, and we look forward to seeing you, or hearing you, or talking to you next week or someday.
Peace.
Cheers. Bye-bye.